Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that we always have to deal with as moms. Nikash has been sick several times as a toddler and I have been learning to deal with it. So I'm going to share my tips and the products that I've used to deal with him when he's sick and make him feel better. All right, so Nikash is actually coming off of this like 2-month run of having a cold. And I thought it was just that he had this cold for that long. When I took him to see his doctor, she was kind of like, no, what kind of happens with toddlers, especially around this age, around 2, is they just get these like back-to-back colds. So it's like they get a cold, it goes away, and then like a day later or something like that, they get another cold, and it's just this back-to-back cold. A lot of other different sicknesses kind of stem from that. So he's gone from like this cold to like having this constant runny nose and stuff and not being able to breathe, and then to having like a cough. He ended up getting croup, which is this like really deep cough that like makes you kind of scared as a mom, especially because it's like deeper at night. So it's like while he's sleeping and stuff, he's coughing. It sounds like he's like barking almost. We took him to the doctor for that. He was trying to get an earache. He was like bordering on it. So then we had to deal with that with him. And we're still even watching it because he keeps getting like this stuffy nose. I'm even feeling a little bit under the weather right now. Like I can feel my throat and my stuffy nose and everything happening. And it's just that time of year. And since he's been sick, I've learned a lot. And I'm gonna go ahead and share some of the tips and the products that I've been using. First off, you know, we all know like when babies are young, it's so hard to deal with them being sick because there isn't much you can do as far as like actual medicine goes. Like you can't give them decongestants, you can't teach them how to blow their noses or anything like that. You know, besides like infant Tylenol and Motrin, there isn't a lot you can do. So obviously I use infant Tylenol and Motrin when it's necessary. If they have a fever, that's a time to give it. If they have any kind of pain, that's another time to give it. One thing that's great is at a certain point when your child becomes pretty much a toddler, our pediatrician was the one that gave us like the clearance to do this. You can do like Tylenol and then like a couple hours later do Motrin and stuff, because otherwise you can only give like Tylenol every few hours and Motrin every few hours. So instead of like waiting between, if it's really bad, a bad fever or something, then you can actually like give them like in between each other, and that really helps a lot. There are also things like Nikash was dealing with like a borderline earache and he was starting to complain about it, like he kept tapping his ear and stuff. And so I called his doctor and she said for some reason, they don't know why, Motrin seems to help your baby's earache a little bit more than Tylenol does. So for his actual earache, we were giving him Motrin, which is, you know, interesting, something I didn't know. A humidifier is one way to really help soothe your child when they're sick, whether they've got a cough, a congested nose, anything like that. We had this fancy one and it just wasn't working. So I got this Vicks one. It was like 30 bucks at CVS. It was on sale and it works really, really well. And I think there's something about being able to see the mist coming out of it that makes your mind like think it's working. So I've been really liking this one. We have it on almost like every single day and it works really well. It stays on for like 8 hours and then when the water's gone, it's like it turns itself off. It's awesome. So one of the other things that they did for Nikash was they actually gave him a little steroid for croup, and that's to just like calm inflammation. It was like 3 little pills and it was so hard to get Nikash to take these. So just keep that in mind. If they do recommend something like that, ask if you can get a liquid one. I don't know if you can, but thinking back on it, I really wish I would have gotten a liquid because you can't really teach a kid how to swallow. It's kind of like trying to teach them how to blow their nose. It just doesn't make any sense. So that leads me to the next items. Saline. I feel like saline is really, really helpful. If you don't have saline, what I've also found is when you go take a shower, I've been taking Nikash into the shower with me and it helps really loosen all of that mucus up in his nose. And then you can get like a nasal aspirator. That's just a very common one. You get it even when you leave the hospital, they give you one. I just go around like the edges of his nose and just like, you know, gently squeeze a little bit out. We were using a nose Frida for a while and I really liked it, but what I found was you had to be really gentle with it to really like get it out. But I also found like it could, you know, the doctor was even saying like it can really inflame their noses worse actually and make the whole situation worse. So I feel like you have to be really careful with that. So I went back to using one of these and it's just to suck out like the mucus that's just like right on the very edges of the nose. You don't really want to get in there and try to like get it all out. Even though you feel bad for them, you just kind of can't. Other things you can do is, I really like this. It's a saline mist. What makes this different is you put it into the nostril and you spray it up and you hold their nose like over a sink, for instance, and you just like kind of let it drip in and run out instead of like putting the saline in and like having it sit there for a little bit to loosen it up and then trying to suck it all out. It makes more sense to me. So you just like spray it up there a little bit and let it run out a little bit and then wipe it off. You can though, if you want, use little saline drops. Like if you've got a little baby, you can use saline drops and just put a couple of little drops in there. You don't even need to squeeze it. Like the couple of little drops that come off when you open it are all you need. And you just let it sit there and let it, like loosen everything up, and then you suck it up. And that's like the best you can do really when they're congested. Unfortunately, it's like the worst thing when your baby first gets a cold and they're congested, because you like can't explain it to them and they're so sad about it. And Nikash loves his pacifier, so it's like you can't really use the pacifier because he can't breathe if he's using the pacifier, so it's just really sad to see. So these little items are really, really helpful, but I find this kind of saline spray much more easy to use than this kind of drop, in my opinion. There really isn't a cough medicine, like a true medicine for toddlers and especially for infants. I find that honey, a little spoonful of honey, really helps to soothe the throat. I had actually read somewhere that, all these like cough medicines and stuff that you try to buy for toddlers, they're essentially just honey, and they're like adding stuff to it. So I have started giving Nikash a little spoonful of honey, and I'll even let him have like a little bit of like warm lemon water, and that seems to help too. But the honey is really nice to coat the throat. You can't give it to a baby under 1, but once they turn 1, you can really use honey, and they love it because it tastes good too. And then last, you have to keep monitoring them, because if the sickness gets worse and worse and they start to get a fever, then you really have to handle it and talk to your pediatrician and stuff. So I like to monitor Nikash when he's sick, and this has been a really helpful thermometer. I got it actually as a baby shower gift. And at first I was like, it's a little too fancy for me, but now I realize this is a really good one, because you can just put it up to the head like that, and it reads the temperature, and it's green right now because it's not a fever. I don't have a fever, but if I did have a fever, it would actually turn red and let me know like we're in fever territory. I like to use this because you can check it in different places on the head, and then you can open it up and stick it in the ear and do the same exact thing. Because it's like a beeping noise that it makes, it doesn't freak Nikash out. He's very interested in it, and sometimes he sees it sitting there and he'll like hold it up to his head and try to do it to himself and stuff. I find that this is a really helpful and super easy thermometer to use. So I hope these tips and these products are helpful for you. They've been helpful for me. It's hard to deal with a baby who's sick because there isn't a lot that you can do for them as far as medicine goes. And I don't know, that's probably been one of the hardest things about dealing with a baby, is when you see them get sick, and they get sick so often. Just like going out to play at the park or being at daycare or preschool or anything like that, they just seem to get sick all the time. And it's really sad to see them sick because you can't really explain it to them. So this has been really helpful for me. I hope it helps you. Tell me in the comments below if you have any tips to add, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.